We've waited, what is it, 11 years for this movie? Ever since Nick Fury showed up in Iron Man, we've waited 11 years for this movie. And this is what they give us. Well, I gotta tell you, this movie is awesome. Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to an all-new Talkin Movies. As always, I'm your host, the real Geno Reynolds, and today I'm going to be talking about Avengers Endgame. I gotta say this right now. I've debated, ever since I saw it yesterday, what I would tell you and what I wouldn't. And I've come to the decision that though some of the stuff that I had minor issues with this movie are very spoilerific, and even the smallest things can spoil the experience. So I will dance around that stuff the best I can, and I'm not going to reveal certain things. I just can't. I'm not going to ruin that experience for you guys. And I'm going to also give you this advice. I went into this movie barely having seen anything. I saw a few pictures, a few toys. I didn't see any trailers. I caught the very first of the trailer and I walked out of the theater because I didn't want to see it. It just showed an image from Iron Man 1 of him talking about escaping the cave. So I had very minor spoilerage for myself for this movie, and I would advise you that you shouldn't even see anything about this movie before going to see it. That's the best way to experience it. Hard to do, trust me, very hard to do, especially when everyone wants to talk about the new trailer or talk about the new pictures and stuff. I get that, but you know, in this day and age, what I was able to pull off when it comes to avoiding any spoilers, I was really surprised I was able to do it. So, yeah, so we're going to be talking about Endgame, and I love the fact that, and I know I wasn't the only one, but I love the fact that I was able to predict what the subtitle for this movie was. It made me feel good. So what this movie is about, it starts off a bit of time after the events of Infinity War, where the leftover heroes are searching for Thanos. And I'll have to skip some there. And then the movie jumps ahead a little bit in time. And then the heroes that are still left have to figure out... boy, it's tough to dance around this because I'm trying to avoid the rabid mouse, as we've talked about before. I mean, you know, he may send he or one of his friends after me, or heck, now Disney has Deadpool now, so maybe they'll send Deadpool after me if I spoil it. But the movie jumps ahead in time, and then the heroes, let's just say, have another mission. That's really all I can say about the plot, because I don't want to spoil it for you guys. What this movie is almost a perfect culmination of 11 years worth of movies. I'm going to tell you this. You're going to need to brush up on your Marvel movie history, because this movie has callbacks from pretty much every Marvel movie. from Iron Man to its sequels to Thor and its sequels, and there's either things are talked about, or there's parts of the plot that have to do with it, or there's just so much going on that you're gonna at least need to remember most of the stuff that's happened in those movies. Now, do you really need to go back and watch everything? Maybe not. It wouldn't hurt. But there are some minute details up until near the very end of the movie that there's some I had to look up after seeing it. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that. Okay, and it's not to the point where, excuse me, it's not to the point where it ruins the movie that if you don't remember something. No, most of the stuff's pretty well known and easy to remember things from those movies. But then there's a couple little callbacks that you're like, hey, what was that? And like I said, I'd look it up like, oh, that's cool. Okay. I was confused. Now I'm not. That works. That's great. Because they bring so much of it in. But here's the thing. They have all this stuff, but since they've been building it up for 11 years, it works. See, this movie it's what Justice League should have been. Marvel started it and pulled it off, where something like Justice League wanted it right now. And I can throw Infinity War in this too. If they would have done Infinity War without all the build-up before, and this movie without all the build-up before, wouldn't have worked. Would not have worked. But with all the build-up, they've earned this. They have waited 11 years to finish this arc. And I have to say that for the most part, I'd say 98% of it worked for me. The stuff that didn't work, which I'll talk about very vaguely, because again, I don't want to spoil things for you. The stuff that I had minor bits and pieces and issues with, it doesn't ruin the movie at all. At all. It's still an amazing feat of cinema when it comes to bringing all of these stories, 11 years worth of stories together. And the issues I had, it's other movies have used this plot device, and they've all had issues, but it won't ruin your experience of the movie. You're gonna have questions. And that's okay. The movie tries, like all these other movies that have used the plot device, it tries to explain it, and it's fine. Again, there's going to be issues. That's all I can say. This movie's hard to talk about because I don't want to ruin the experience that you're going to have when you watch it. And I debated. I was going to talk about my issues with it, but I'm like, I don't want people to say, well, you spoiled it for me, and I don't want to do that. I can't do that. I can't do that to you. I just couldn't. This movie, you're going to get a lot of payoffs for a lot of different characters. There's a lot of character moments, and I mean a lot. I would say it borders on just blatant fan service, and some of it you probably will say, yeah, that's pretty much fan service. That being said, I believe that this movie's earned it, because the moments that you get fit the story. Because, again, they're payoffs for 11 years worth of movies. And you're going to find yourself laughing, and you're going to find yourself crying, and you're going to find yourself cheering. Do you remember when the first Avengers came out, and they show the scene that it's doing the circle around the characters, and it's playing the Avengers theme, and it's the first time they've stood together. And you remember how you felt when that moment happened? I am not ashamed to admit that scene still just waters my eyes up. It's doing it right now, and I am not ashamed to admit it. That moment, for me, is amazing. It brings characters that I love together in movie form, and it's epic, and they're getting ready to face off against Loki and his army, and that moment still gets me emotionally. I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but I am going to tell you this. There is a moment in this movie that if you are a fan of Marvel Comics, or even just a fan of these movies, you are going to get emotional. You are going to just... It's beautiful. That's all I'm going to say. It's beautiful. And it doesn't even end there. So, this movie also, it deals a lot with what it is to be a hero. This is really no surprise, but this movie also deals with sacrifice. It deals with moving on. It deals with keeping what you have that's close to you. There is so much this movie deals with, and it's earned every bit of it. Every bit of it. There's some scenes that are going to shock you. Some may not be a surprise. Some of the places where the characters are at in the movie are pretty surprising. So yeah, there's just... Here's the thing, and also when it comes to characters, some of my biggest fears were that, you know, certain characters would outshine others. And here's the thing. All the characters, every character gets their moment to shine, and then some. Every character. From Captain Marvel, to Captain America, to Hulk, to Black Widow, to everybody. They get their moment to shine. And if you're a fan of these characters, you're going to love it. You're going to love it. Okay, so that's all I can really talk about the movie. The action's fantastic. There's a lot of build-up. I think it's okay to have 3 hours for this movie. A lot of people are like, wow, 3 hours? Yeah, well, it's earned it. It needs it. There's a lot going on in this movie. And there is a lot of build-up. So a lot of people are like, wow, it's taking forever to kind of get going. Well, it all works. It's earned this build-up, right? You got to build up where the characters are at in this. So it's earned it. I want to talk about Stan Lee. Stan Lee's cameo, being that they probably didn't know that this was going to be his last one, I wouldn't say it's anything special. It's funny. It's really funny. But it wasn't some, goodbye or anything like that. But that being said, again, they probably didn't know. I mean, he probably filmed that thing years ago. Or at least a couple years ago. So it's still nice to see him though, and the scene is hilarious. I will say that. When it comes to mid and after credit scenes, there were none at the screening I went to. In a way, I'm not surprised by that, because while that may not change, see, because the credits, if really, I would compare the credits to like Return of the King, where it kind of goes through the entire saga and shows you stuff from the entire saga. The credits are pretty long. They're kind of cool. They're really cool. But it kind of goes through the saga. So yeah, it reminded me of Return of the King. But then there was nothing mid-credit, and then there was nothing technically after credit. There was a sound. I have a feeling, and I could be wrong, but this isn't the first time at a critic screening that we didn't get to see the whole movie. I remember, I believe it was the critic screening of the first Deadpool. They didn't show the second after credit scene. They showed the Ferris Bueller thing, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, that was only at the theatrical release." So that may be in the theatrical release. I have a feeling that it is. I have a feeling there might be something else when it comes out on Thursday, and I'm okay with that. I'm going to go see it again. I have no qualms about that. I have no qualms about sitting in the theater for another 3 hours or so to see this, because it's fantastic. Please don't take that word as a clue or anything. I will say this, at least from what I've seen, there's no Fox stuff in this. So, again, my theory for an after credit scene was a tease for Galactus. But again, there was nothing but a sound. And I think I know what it is now. I hope I'm right, because it'd be cool. But it doesn't tease a Fox thing. There's no Fox mentions in this. There's no X-Men mentions. There's no Galactus, Fantastic Four, Doctor Doom. From what I've seen at my screening, there's none of that. So, sorry if that hurts for anyone that was expecting that stuff. I don't want to get your hopes up for that stuff. But this movie didn't need it. This movie, while it is called Endgame, is not the end for everything. Because there's so many things that they kind of tease in this that show you kind of what the future might hold for some of these characters. Yeah, and that's all I can really say about this movie. You're going to love it. If you are a fan of these movies, if you are a comic fan, you are going to love it. There's so many twists and turns in this movie, and they all work. The saying, "I love it when a plan comes together," but yeah, I do love it when a plan comes together, but plans don't always go the way you think they're gonna go, and that's kind of how this movie is. And it's amazing. It's amazing. I love this movie. While there are going to be other good comic movies this year. I mean, we've had Shazam already this year. We get a Spider-Man movie this year. Nothing is going to top this movie. Nothing. Not this year, and probably not ever again. Unless they go epic in the future. Because that's what this movie is. It is an epic superhero movie. And if any movie is going to overtake Avatar at the worldwide box office, it's going to be this one. I theorize that if this movie was even just good, that it would do that. But here's the thing. This movie is great. This movie is pretty much everything you've wanted. And it's got good humor. It doesn't overdo it. It has amazing action. It's got heart. It's just got everything you want in an epic superhero movie. And honestly, I can't see the moments in this movie being topped ever again. I know you don't need me to tell you to go see it, but I'm telling you, have confidence that when you go see this, you are going to love it. That's going to be all for this edition of Talkin Movies. If you like what you've heard here, please subscribe to the Real Geno YouTube channel, like this video. If you have anything to say about this movie after you see it, please stay as spoiler-free as possible. For those that haven't, please feel free to leave a comment in the section below. Until next time, I am your host, the Real Geno, Geno Reynolds. See you later.